We investigated how UK ready meals are really produced, and what happens behind those factory doors will surprise you. On average, a British household buys dozens of these meals each year, relying on them as quick fixes for long days and busy evenings. But very few people ever stop to ask how those meals are actually made before they reach the microwave. Inside vast industrial facilities, these meals are assembled on production lines built for efficiency, uniform taste, and extended shelf life. To keep texture stable, colour appealing, and flavour consistent after days in cold storage, formulations often depend on salt levels, stabilisers, and processing techniques most consumers never see. In this video, we're going step by step through how UK ready meal brands are made in factories, from ingredient sourcing to final packaging, so you can understand exactly what happens before that sealed tray reaches your fridge. Where the ingredients really come from. When you look at a ready meal in the supermarket, you probably imagine raw ingredients arriving fresh and being cooked shortly after. That image feels comforting. Trays of vegetables being chopped, chicken being prepared, sauces being stirred in large kitchens. But the reality begins much earlier and much cheaper. Large manufacturers secure bulk deliveries of meat, vegetables, starches, oils, and sauce bases months in advance. The objective at this stage is consistency and price control, not nutritional quality. Most ingredients arrive already processed. Vegetables are often harvested early, cut in industrial facilities, and blast frozen to survive storage and transport. While freezing preserves them from immediate spoilage, it can reduce texture quality and affect certain nutrient levels over time. These vegetables are chosen because they can withstand mechanical handling and reheating without collapsing in the tray. Meat frequently arrives pre-trimmed or partially processed. In many cases, it is treated with brining solutions to help it retain moisture after microwaving. These treatments often increase sodium content. Sodium is not just used for flavour, it also acts as a preservative and stabiliser. When multiplied across dozens of ready meals per year, this can significantly contribute to a household's overall salt intake, something already linked to raised blood pressure and cardiovascular strain. Sauces are typically not built slowly from fresh ingredients. They are often delivered as concentrated bases or dry blends designed to be diluted and stabilized inside industrial tanks. These bases rely on modified starches, emulsifiers, and flavor enhancers to ensure uniform texture and taste. These additives are legal and widely used, but they also mark the transition from traditional cooking to ultra-processed formulation. Regular consumption of ultra-processed foods has been associated in multiple studies with higher risks of obesity, metabolic issues, and long-term health complications. The sourcing stage prioritizes ingredients that are resilient, able to survive high-speed cooking, blast chilling, storage, and transport without visible deterioration. That resilience often comes at a cost. Lower grade cuts can be blended for uniformity. Vegetables are selected for structural strength rather than peak ripeness. Starches and oils are chosen for stability rather than nutritional benefit. Food safety standards ensure that these meals are unlikely to cause immediate harm if stored and heated correctly. However, safety compliance doesn't equal optimal nutrition. A product can pass safety inspections while still being high in sodium, low in fiber, heavily stabilized, and far removed from what most people consider a balanced home-cooked meal. By the time the ingredients move into the cooking stage, they are no longer simple, raw foods. They are engineered inputs designed to behave predictably under industrial pressure. And the more engineered the input, the further it moves from natural simplicity. And what happens next, especially to the meat itself, raises even more questions about what consumers are actually eating. The first factory processing stage. When you read chicken breast, beef pieces, or British minced beef on the front of a ready meal, you picture something simple, trimmed cuts prepared the way you would at home. A pan, some seasoning, proper cooking. Inside a factory, the process looks very different. Meat used in ready meals is often handled in bulk long before it reaches the final tray. Large quantities are trimmed, sorted, and standardized so that every portion looks identical. Consistency is everything. One tray cannot have visibly larger chunks than another. That means reshaping, cutting to uniform sizes, and sometimes blending different grades together to maintain visual balance. In some cases, meat is injected with brine or water-based solutions. This helps it retain moisture after being reheated in a microwave. Without this treatment, the meat could appear dry or tough once the consumer cooks it at home. While this practice is legally permitted, brining often increases sodium levels. When consumed regularly, elevated sodium intake is associated with high blood pressure and increased cardiovascular risk. Mechanically processed meat can also enter the supply chain, especially in lower-cost ready meals. Mechanical separation extracts remaining edible material from bones under pressure. While safe when regulated, the process produces a finer texture that is then reshaped or mixed with binders to maintain structure. The final product may resemble solid cuts, but its journey has been far more industrial than most consumers imagine. Another factor is pre-cooking. To meet high production quotas, meat is frequently partially cooked in large batches before final assembly. This speeds up the overall process and ensures food safety standards are met. However, rapid industrial cooking prioritizes temperature compliance over flavor development. To compensate, manufacturers may rely more heavily on sauces and seasoning to mask blandness. The health implications are subtle but cumulative. Higher sodium content, stabilisers, and processed meat forms contribute to what nutritionists classify as ultra-processed food consumption. Diets high in ultra-processed products have been linked in multiple large-scale studies to increased risks of obesity, metabolic disorders, and certain chronic diseases. Safety regulations focus on preventing contamination and immediate illness. They do not address how repeated exposure to processed formulations affects long-term health. When ready meals become weekly staples, the cumulative intake of sodium, additives, and industrially processed meat becomes significant. If the meal contains pasta, rice, or noodles, those components are often pre-cooked in large batches. The purpose is not flavor, it is predictability. Pre-cooking ensures that during final heating, the starch behaves exactly the same in every tray. In some cases, especially with noodle-based products, oil treatments are used to prevent sticking and extend shelf stability. Plant-based proteins undergo even more structural change. Many are extruded under high heat and pressure to create fibrous. And the next stage, how the sauce is built around it, is where even more formulation takes place. How the sauces are manufactured. The sauce in a ready meal is not there just for flavor. In many cases, it is there to control texture, extend shelf life, mask lower-grade ingredients, and stabilize the entire tray. Without the sauce, many ready meals would not hold together the way they do after days in cold storage and a few minutes in a microwave. The process usually begins with pre-formulated industrial bases supplied by large ingredient companies. Instead of freshly chopped vegetables slowly simmered in a pot, factories use concentrated tomato paste, dehydrated onion and garlic powders, spice blends, stock concentrates, and flavor systems that arrive in bulk containers. These components are already processed before they even enter the factory. They are chosen because they are consistent, cheap, and easy to scale. Inside the facility, these bases are emptied into enormous stainless steel tanks. Mechanical paddles churn the mixture continuously to prevent separation. At this stage, oils and fats are added, but oil and water do not naturally stay blended. To solve this, emulsifiers are introduced. Emulsifiers force fats and liquids to remain stable together so that the sauce does not split during storage or reheating. Without them, many ready meal sauces would look oily and separated by the time you peel back the lid. To control thickness, factories rely heavily on modified starches and stabilizing agents. Modified starch is designed specifically to withstand freezing, rapid cooling, and microwave reheating without breaking breaking down. Traditional flour-based thickening would not survive these conditions. Modified starch ensures the sauce remains thick and glossy, even if the meal has been sitting in refrigeration for days. This is where the health impact begins to build. The more a sauce depends on modified starches, stabilisers, emulsifiers, and artificial flavour balancing, the further it moves into the category of ultra-processed food. Ultra-processed foods are not simply convenient. They are products engineered through multiple industrial steps and often contain ingredients that would not normally be found in a home kitchen. Numerous large observational studies have linked high consumption of ultra-processed foods to increased risks of obesity, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and metabolic disorders. Salt is often used heavily at this stage. Not only does it enhance taste quickly, but it also helps preserve the product and improve mouthfeel. When combined with flavor enhancers, it makes even lower quality meat and vegetables taste more satisfying. The issue is cumulative intake. If someone consumes ready meals regularly, sodium levels can quietly exceed recommended daily limits, increasing strain on blood pressure and heart health over time. Sugar may also be added, not always in obvious amounts, but enough to balance acidity and round out flavors. Even savory ready meals can contain surprising levels of hidden sugars. Frequent exposure contributes to metabolic stress, especially when combined with refined starches and low fiber content. In some production systems, parts of the sauce are dehydrated before final assembly. Liquid broths or flavor bases may go through spray drying, where the liquid is atomized into a heated chamber and turned into powder almost instantly. This removes water, extends shelf life, and makes storage easier. Later, the powder is rehydrated and thickened in the factory. While dehydration itself is not inherently dangerous, it further removes the process from traditional cooking and increases reliance on engineered flavor systems. The finished sauce is not built primarily to nourish. It is built to survive industrial handling, rapid chilling, transport, and reheating without visible breakdown. It must taste identical whether produced this morning or several days ago. That level of predictability requires chemical assistance and formulation. For consumers, the concern is not that one ready meal will cause immediate harm. The concern is regular consumption. When meals are built around stabilizers, high sodium content, refined starches, and engineered flavor systems, they contribute to a dietary pattern that prioritizes convenience over nutritional integrity. Over time, that pattern has measurable consequences, and once the sauce and meat are combined, the meal moves into a cooking system where speed becomes the dominant factor, and that speed creates its own set of compromises. The rapid cooking system. Once the ingredients are sourced, processed, and the sauce is engineered, the meal moves into the cooking stage. This is where many people assume traditional preparation finally happens. But in a ready meal factory, cooking is not about flavor development. It is about speed, uniformity, and meeting safety targets at industrial scale. Instead of slow simmering or controlled stovetop cooking, factories rely on large industrial steam ovens, high-speed tunnel cookers, or batch heating systems. Thousands of portions are heated simultaneously. The goal is simple: bring every component to a safe temperature, quickly, consistently, and efficiently. Time is money in this stage. The longer food sits in a cooker, the lower the output. So the process is optimized to hit required internal temperatures as fast as possible. That ensures compliance with food safety regulations, but it does not prioritize texture, nutrient preservation, or flavor complexity. Rapid industrial cooking can affect food quality in subtle but important ways. High-heat, short-duration systems are designed to eliminate pathogens efficiently, yet they can degrade certain heat-sensitive nutrients in vegetables. When combined with pre-processing, freezing, and long storage times, the cumulative nutritional value may decline further. The meal remains safe to eat, but it is not nutritionally equivalent to something freshly prepared. Another issue is moisture control. Because cooking happens quickly and in large batches, manufacturers rely heavily on brining, stabilizers, and sauce thickness to prevent dryness. Without these supports, fast-cooked meat and vegetables could appear rubbery or overcooked after reheating. The sauce once again compensates for the limitations of the system. After cooking, meals do not rest or develop flavour. They move immediately to the next phase: rapid chilling. Food is blast chilled to drop temperatures quickly and prevent bacterial growth. This step is essential for safety, but it also locks the product into a preserved state that can last for days before reaching store shelves. From a health perspective, the concern is not contamination, it is formulation. The entire cooking system is designed around industrial efficiency, and the ingredients chosen earlier are selected precisely because they can withstand this aggressive process. That often means relying on sodium, stabilisers, and refined starches to maintain texture and taste after mechanical cooking and reheating. When meals are built to survive speed and storage rather than to maximise nutrient density, the final product becomes more about industrial reliability than dietary balance. And when these meals become weekly staples, the long-term dietary pattern begins to shift toward highly processed, high-sodium, low-fibre options. If you're starting to see how many steps are engineered for output rather than nourishment, take a moment to support this kind of breakdown. Like the video and subscribe so more people understand what actually happens behind supermarket shelves. The more informed we are, the harder it is for convenience to replace quality without question. Because the next stage is where profit calculations become even more visible, in the exact way your portion is measured and assembled. Assembly line portioning. This is where the final tray you recognize begins to take shape. At this stage, everything becomes mathematical. Every gram of meat, every spoon of sauce, every piece of vegetable is measured by automated machines programmed for precision. The purpose here is not generosity, it is control. High-speed portioning machines deposit exact weights into plastic trays moving along conveyor belts. The system is calibrated so that each tray meets a strict target weight, not slightly more, not slightly less. That consistency protects profit margins. If one tray receives too much meat, the cost multiplies across thousands of units, so the balance is carefully engineered. This is often where subtle shortcuts become visible. Sauce is usually added first or in larger proportions because it is cheaper than meat. Starches such as pasta, rice, or mashed potato can be used to bulk out the tray. Meat portions are controlled tightly, and in some cases, small pieces are distributed to give the appearance of fullness rather than density. The result is a meal that looks complete but may contain more filler than substance. From a health perspective, this balance matters. When starches dominate the tray and protein portions are reduced to control cost, the overall nutritional profile shifts. Many ready meals end up higher in refined carbohydrates and lower in fibre than a home-prepared equivalent. That combination can contribute to blood sugar spikes and reduced satiety, encouraging overeating later. Vegetables are often included, but their portion size is equally controlled. A few visible pieces are enough to satisfy visual expectations. However, the actual fibre contribution may be minimal. When ready meals are consumed regularly, the cumulative effect can be a diet lower in fibre and higher in refined ingredients, a pattern linked to digestive issues and long-term metabolic strain. Automation ensures uniformity, but it also removes variability. At home, you might add extra vegetables or reduce salt. In a factory, the formula is fixed. The machine does not adapt to nutritional needs. It follows cost parameters. Once the tray is filled, it moves quickly down the line for sealing and cooling. There is no pause for flavour to develop or for ingredients to integrate naturally. The meal is treated as a unit to be completed, not a dish to be refined. And this leads directly into the next stage, where speed and preservation take priority over freshness. Fast cooling and storage. Immediately after cooking and portioning, ready meals are sent through blast chillers. These are powerful industrial systems designed to drop the food's temperature very quickly, often within minutes. The purpose is to prevent bacterial growth and comply with safety regulations. From a technical standpoint, this step is necessary, but here's what's rarely considered. Rapid chilling locks the meal into a preserved state. The texture, moisture, and structural integrity of the food are frozen in time. Vegetables that were already pre-processed and fast-cooked now undergo a sharp temperature drop. Meat that has been brined or pre-treated must hold its shape through this shock. Sauces thickened with modified starches are relied upon to prevent separation during the transition. This process isn't about enhancing quality, it's about halting decay. After chilling, meals move into cold storage facilities where they can remain for days before being transported to distribution centres. Freshly made on packaging does not necessarily mean made that morning. It can mean made recently within a controlled system designed to preserve appearance and safety. The longer food sits, even under refrigeration, the more subtle changes occur. Nutrient levels in certain vegetables can continue to decline over time. Texture may soften. Flavours can flatten. To compensate, recipes are often formulated in advance to withstand this delay, which usually means higher salt levels and more stabilisers. From a health perspective, the issue is cumulative exposure to meals designed primarily for longevity. When food is engineered to survive cold chains and extended storage without visible deterioration, its formulation shifts toward preservation-friendly ingredients. These tend to be refined, stabilized, and salt-heavy components rather than whole, minimally processed foods. Cold storage ensures the product is safe within its shelf life window. But safety and nutritional quality are not the same thing. A meal can remain microbiologically safe while still being high in sodium, low in fiber, and heavily reliant on processing aids. By the time the tray leaves storage and heads towards supermarket distribution, it has already traveled through multiple industrial stress points: sourcing, reformulation, high-speed cooking, rapid chilling, and controlled holding. And the final transformation happens just before it reaches you, because what makes it look fresh on the shelf is not just refrigeration, it's the packaging itself, how it's sealed and preserved. This is where packaging becomes part of the manufacturing process. Not just protection, but preservation. The filled trays move along automated conveyor belts into sealing machines. A thin plastic film is stretched tightly over the top of each tray and heat sealed around the edges. This creates an airtight barrier. But before sealing is completed, many factories use a process called modified atmosphere packaging. In simple terms, the air inside the tray is altered. Normal air contains oxygen, which accelerates spoilage and bacterial growth. To slow this down, oxygen is reduced and replaced with gases like carbon dioxide or nitrogen. These gases help extend shelf life and slow visible deterioration. The meal can now sit longer in refrigeration without obvious signs of decay. From a safety perspective, this system helps control bacterial growth. But from a consumer perspective, it creates an illusion of freshness. The meal may look vibrant and stable even after days in cold storage. Color is preserved, texture is protected, the tray appears as if it was recently prepared. This extended shelf stability is not accidental. It is designed into the product from the beginning. Earlier stages relied on stabilizers, salt, and processing methods specifically chosen to survive this sealed environment. The packaging simply locks that system in place. There is also the material itself. Most ready meals are sealed in plastic trays designed to withstand microwaving. While these materials are approved for food contact, concerns have been raised over time about repeated exposure to heated plastics and potential chemical migration. Regulations exist to limit this, but the broader issue is frequency. When reheating packaged meals becomes routine, exposure becomes routine as well. The result is a product that can remain in a refrigerator for days while appearing fresh and safe. The system works efficiently. But the efficiency depends on preservation techniques that distance the meal even further from traditional cooking. By the time the seal is applied, what started as bulk materials has become a stable, standardized retail unit. And now comes the final stage, the part that shapes how you perceive it before you ever read the ingredient list. The label and the final illusion. By the time the tray is sealed, chilled, and boxed, the manufacturing process is technically complete. What remains is not cooking. It is presentation. This is the stage where perception is carefully constructed. Once sealed, the meals move into packaging lines where cardboard sleeves are wrapped around the trays. High-resolution images are printed on the front. Glossy photographs of steam rising from golden pasta, thick sauce coating tender pieces, vegetables looking vibrant and freshly prepared. The lighting is warm. The portions look generous. The texture appears soft and slow-cooked. But the image on the sleeve is not a photograph of the tray you are holding. It is a styled representation. Food stylists and marketing teams design it to create appetite and emotional comfort. The real product inside has already been through sourcing shortcuts, bulk processing, industrial cooking, rapid chilling, gas flushing, and sealing. Then come the words home style, freshly prepared, classic recipe, made with British chicken, high in protein. These statements are carefully chosen because they are legally defensible while still emotionally powerful. Freshly prepared may simply mean it was assembled in a factory recently before chilling. Made with British chicken does not necessarily speak to how that chicken was processed. High in protein does not explain sodium levels or additive use. Turn the tray over and the ingredient list tells a more technical story. Modified starches, stabilizing agents, emulsifiers, flavor enhancers, preservatives, acidity regulators, refined oils. Each ingredient is permitted under regulation. None are necessarily illegal, but together they reflect a product engineered for shelf stability and uniformity rather than simplicity. From a health perspective, this is where the real disconnect appears. The front of the package speaks to comfort and familiarity. The back reveals formulation and industrial processing. When consumers eat these meals occasionally, the impact may seem minor, but when ready meals become weekly habits, the pattern shifts toward higher sodium intake, lower fiber content, and greater reliance on ultra-processed formulations. The most concerning part is not a single additive. It is the gap between what people believe they are eating and what has actually been manufactured. The label builds trust. The process builds efficiency. The finished tray looks like dinner. But what it truly represents is a carefully controlled system designed to maximize output, extend shelf life, and maintain appearance under industrial conditions. And once you understand every stage of that system, from sourcing to sealing, it becomes harder to see it as just convenience. Now you've seen the full journey. What starts as bulk contracts and cost calculations moves through reshaping, stabilizing, rapid cooking, blast chilling, gas flushing, and careful branding before it ever reaches your fridge. At no point in that chain is the priority slow preparation, natural development of flavor, or preserving ingredients in their simplest form. The priority is control. Control of cost, control of consistency, control of shelf life. Ready meals are not accidental products. They are engineered systems. That does not mean every tray will make you ill tomorrow. It means the structure of the product is built around industrial stability, not long-term nutritional balance. Higher sodium levels, refined starch dominance, heavy use of stabilizers, and ultra-processing techniques become normalized when these meals are eaten frequently. Over time, that pattern matters. It affects blood pressure, metabolic health, energy levels, and overall dietary quality. Convenience has replaced cooking in many households. That shift didn't happen overnight. It happened gradually, one tray at a time. So what can you do? First, reduce frequency. Occasional use is very different from routine dependence. Second, read ingredient lists carefully, not just the front of the sleeve. The shorter and simpler the list, the better. Third, prioritize meals that contain recognizable components with lower sodium and higher fiber content. Even small adjustments make a difference over months and years. Most importantly, become aware. Once you understand how something is manufactured, you make decisions differently. You stop seeing it purely as dinner and start seeing it as a product designed within a system. If this breakdown helped you understand what's really behind UK ready meal brands, share this video with someone who relies on them regularly. The more people understand the process, the more informed our choices become. Let me know in the comments which product category you'd like investigated next. And if you haven't already, subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive.